day, maybe, we'll be able to find out exactly that this mummy is for Queen Nefertiti.
About the identity of a mummy found in 1898. Our mummies were DNA tested and the results published.
The mummy lay in the Egyptian Museum for over a century. Catalog number KV35, younger lady. Unknown identity, unknown cause of death, until scientists extracted her DNA. What they found rewrote everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt's most powerful woman.
Both of these mummies have at times been identified as Queen Nefertiti. Some have claimed that she is the body on the right.
The genetic code didn't just reveal who she was, it exposed how she died, and it was brutal. This wasn't natural death, this wasn't old age. The DNA evidence points to something far more sinister. Queen Nefertiti, the woman who ruled an empire, met a violent end that her enemies tried to erase from history. But DNA doesn't lie. When you think of ancient Egypt, you picture King Tut. But here's what most people don't realize. The real power behind Egypt's golden age was a woman. Queen Nefertiti wasn't just a pretty face on temple walls. She was a political mastermind who helped reshape an entire civilization. Nefertiti rose to power around 1353 BCE as the wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, but calling her just a wife misses the point entirely. Ancient Egyptian art shows something unprecedented. Nefertiti depicted with the same royal regalia as her husband. She's shown wearing the pharaoh's crown, wielding royal authority, even striking down Egypt's enemies. This was revolutionary. Egyptian queens were powerful, sure, but they stayed in the background, not Nefertiti. She stood beside Akhenaten as an equal partner in the most radical religious transformation in Egyptian history. Together, they abandoned Egypt's traditional gods. They closed temples that had operated for thousands of years. They moved the entire capital to a new city called Amarna. And they declared that only one god mattered, the sun disk Aten. The crazy part is, it worked. For nearly 2 decades, Nefertiti and Akhenaten controlled the richest empire on earth. Egypt's wealth flowed through their hands. Their new religion spread across the kingdom. Their royal court became the center of an artistic renaissance that produced some of history's most beautiful sculptures and paintings. But here's where the story gets wild. Around year 12 of Akhenaten's reign, something changed. Nefertiti disappeared from official records, not gradually, suddenly. Her name vanished from temple inscriptions. Her image was chiseled off monument walls. It was like someone hit the delete button on one of history's most powerful women. And get this, some evidence suggests she didn't just disappear. She may have taken power herself. Hieroglyphic texts mention a mysterious pharaoh named Smenkhkare, who ruled briefly after Akhenaten. But here's the twist. Some Egyptologists believe Smenkhkare was actually Nefertiti ruling under a male name.
This is where the Nefertiti bust was originally created. It's one version of Nefertiti's official portrait.
Think about that. The woman who helped create Egypt's religious revolution may have seized the throne when her husband died. She may have ruled as pharaoh in her own right, disguising her identity to maintain power in a male-dominated world. But then, she vanished completely. No tomb, no mummy, no trace. Her successors systematically erased her from Egyptian records. They destroyed her monuments, defaced her statues, and tried to wipe her from history entirely. For over 3,000 years, Nefertiti remained archaeology's greatest mystery. The most powerful woman in ancient Egypt had simply disappeared without explanation, until scientists found her DNA. The DNA analysis didn't just identify the younger lady. It exposed a genetic horror story that had been hidden for over 3,000 years.
We are able to find out that she is the daughter. This elder lady, she's the daughter.
When scientists mapped out the Amarna royal family tree, they discovered something that would make any modern geneticist cringe. The Egyptian royal bloodline wasn't just inbred, it was catastrophically inbred. For generations, the pharaohs had been breeding with their own family members to keep the royal blood pure. And get this, the genetic consequences were devastating. The DNA evidence revealed that Tutankhamun, the most famous pharaoh in history, was the product of a brother-sister union. His parents shared the same mother and father. That level of inbreeding creates a genetic nightmare that shows up in the bones, and Tut's mummy tells the whole horrifying story. CT scans of Tutankhamun's remains revealed over 130 walking sticks in his tomb. This wasn't ceremonial. The kid needed them to walk. His left foot was severely clubbed, his spine was curved, one leg was longer than the other. DNA analysis found genetic markers for multiple inherited disorders that would have left him in constant pain. But Tutankhamun wasn't the only victim. The younger lady, possibly Nefertiti, showed her own signs of genetic damage. Her pelvis was malformed in a way that would have made childbirth extremely difficult and dangerous. Her spine showed evidence of scoliosis. Even her famous elegant neck may have been the result of a genetic condition called Marfan syndrome. The crazy part is, the royal family knew this was happening. Medical papyrus texts from the period describe treatments for genetic disorders that sound suspiciously like the conditions plaguing the Amarna royals. They were trying to treat the symptoms while ignoring the cause. DNA analysis of other mummies from this period reveals the full scope of the disaster. Akhenaten himself may have suffered from a feminizing genetic disorder that gave him the curved hips and enlarged breasts shown in artistic depictions. His daughters showed signs of hydrocephalus, water on the brain that would have caused severe developmental delays. This wasn't just a family with health problems. This was a dynasty destroying itself from within, one generation at a time. And here's where it gets really dark. The younger lady wasn't just a victim of this genetic nightmare. She was a key player in perpetuating it. The DNA evidence suggests she had children with multiple close relatives, including possibly her own father and definitely her brother Akhenaten. Think about what this means. The woman who may be Nefertiti was trapped in a system that demanded she produce royal heirs through incestuous relationships that guaranteed genetic disasters. She watched her children suffer from inherited disorders while being forced to continue the cycle. The genetic analysis revealed something else that chilled researchers to the bone. Several mummies from the Amarna period died young, teens and 20s, from causes that appear to be genetic rather than accidental. The royal bloodline wasn't just producing disabled children, it was producing children who couldn't survive to adulthood. But here's the most terrifying discovery. The DNA showed that this genetic catastrophe was accelerating. Each generation was more inbred than the last, more disorders, more early deaths, more suffering. The Amarna royal family was literally breeding itself into extinction. And the woman in tomb KV35, with her skull caved in by a brutal attack, was right at the center of this genetic apocalypse. Whether she was Nefertiti or another royal woman, she lived through and contributed to one of history's most horrifying examples of genetic self-destruction. The DNA doesn't just tell us who these people were, it reveals how they suffered. In 1898, French archaeologist Victor Loret made a discovery that would puzzle scientists for over a century. Deep in the Valley of the Kings, in tomb Cave 35, he found 3 mummies that didn't belong there. 2 were women, 1 was a young boy. All 3 had been stripped of their royal burial goods and dumped unceremoniously in a side chamber. The archaeologists called them the elder lady, the younger lady, and the young boy. No names, no identities, just catalog numbers in a museum basement. The younger lady was particularly mysterious. She appeared to be in her 20s when she died. Her body showed signs of royal mummification, expensive resins, careful wrapping, the works.
On September 28, 2015, found something remarkable.
But here's what made scientists stop cold. Her skull had been caved in. This wasn't accident or disease. Someone had struck this woman in the head with tremendous force. The impact was so severe, it created a gaping hole above her left eye. Brain tissue had actually leaked out during the mummification process. For decades, the younger lady sat in storage while Egyptologists debated her identity. Some thought she might be Queen T, Akhenaten's mother. Others suggested she was one of Akhenaten's sisters. A few wild theories even proposed she could be Nefertiti herself. But theories don't solve mysteries. DNA does. In 2010, Egyptian geneticist Zahi Hawass launched the most ambitious ancient DNA project in archaeological history. His team extracted genetic material from multiple royal mummies, including the mysterious younger lady. What they found changed everything. The DNA revealed the younger lady's family connections. With stunning precision, she was the daughter of Amenhotep III and Queen Tiye, making her Akhenaten's sister. But here's the bombshell that rewrote Egyptian history. She was also the mother of Tutankhamun. Think about what this means. The younger lady wasn't just some random royal woman. She was at the center of Egypt's most famous dynasty. Her son became the most famous pharaoh in history. Her brother led Egypt's religious revolution, and she died violently in her 20s with her skull smashed in. But the DNA held one more secret. Further genetic analysis revealed something that made Egyptologists' jaws drop. The younger lady's mitochondrial DNA, the genetic signature passed down through the maternal line, matched samples found in other Amarna period burials. This woman wasn't just connected to the royal family. She was the royal family. The genetic evidence suggested she had multiple children with her own brother, Akhenaten. In ancient Egypt, royal incest wasn't just accepted. It was required to keep the bloodline pure. And get this, some researchers now believe the younger lady's facial reconstruction matches artistic depictions of Queen Nefertiti. The bone structure, the elegant neck, even the distinctive skull shape align with Nefertiti's famous bust. The woman lying in that side chamber, her head caved in by a brutal attack, might be the most powerful queen in Egyptian history. The DNA evidence was pointing to an impossible conclusion. They had found Nefertiti, and someone had murdered her. The head wound that killed the younger lady tells a story that forensic experts recognize immediately. This wasn't a fall.
To find out for the first time through the CT scan machine that can go inside the mummy.
This wasn't an accident. Someone struck this woman in the skull with a heavy object, probably a mace or war club, with enough force to shatter bone and expose brain tissue. But here's what makes this murder even more chilling. The attack came from above and slightly behind, suggesting the victim was either kneeling or had turned away from her attacker. This was personal, intimate. The killer was close enough to look into her eyes. And get this, the wound shows no signs of healing. She died immediately or within hours of the attack. There was no medical treatment, no attempt to save her life. Whoever did this wanted her dead, and they wanted it done quickly. So who would want to murder the most powerful woman in Egypt? The answer lies in the political chaos that followed Akhenaten's religious revolution.